Hello learners, welcome to lecture 56. In the previous lecture, we examined ethical dilemmas in reproductive and child health service provision. Today, we turn to one of the most fundamental principles of medical ethics, informed consent and confidentiality. Both are particularly important in reproductive and child health because they often involve vulnerable populations such as adolescents, pregnant women, and children. By the end of this session, you will understand the principles, challenges, and practical applications of informed consent and confidentiality in RCH services. Informed consent is essential because it respects patients' autonomy, the right of individuals to make decisions about their own bodies and health. It builds trust in the provider client relationship by demonstrating transparency and respect. Consent also ensures that participation in any medical intervention is voluntary, not coerced or manipulated. In RCH services, where decisions are deeply personal, informed consent becomes even more crucial. Consent should be taken in simple local language, explaining benefits, risks, and alternatives, and clearly stating that right to say no or to stop later. Give time for questions, ensure privacy, and check understanding, not just a signature. For adolescents, seek assent and, where required, parental guardian consent while protecting safety and confidentiality. Document the discussion carefully to show that the choice was informed and voluntary. For consent to be valid, three elements must be present. First, adequate disclosure of information. Patients must be told the purpose, risks, benefits, and alternatives. Second, comprehension. Patients must understand this information, which requires simple, culturally appropriate communication. Third, voluntariness. Decisions must be made freely without coercion from the providers, family members, or social pressures. To achieve this, use plain local language, visual aids, and enough time for questions to check real understanding. Ensure privacy so people can decide without pressure and clearly state that saying no will not affect their future care. For adolescents, seek assent and follow legal rules for consent while protecting safety and confidentiality. Document the conversation, not just a signature, to show that decision was truly informed and voluntary. Consent in reproductive health services raises unique considerations. Women must freely choose family planning methods without coercion. Maternal health interventions, such as caesarean sections, require clear explanations and consent even in emergencies. Abortion care particularly demands robust consent processes, given legal, cultural, and moral sensitiveness. Each service demands extra vigilance to protect autonomy. In child health, parents or guardians usually provide consent, but older children should be asked for assent, recognizing their developing capacity. In adolescents, autonomy becomes especially complex. Should they be allowed to consent to contraception or HIV testing without parental involvement? Ethical and legal frameworks differ, but the principle remains: adolescent voices deserve respect and protection. In research, informed consent is non-negotiable ethical requirement. Participants must understand their role, risks, benefits, and their right to withdraw. Vulnerable groups like pregnant women, adolescents, and children require extra safeguards. In RCH research, clear, culturally sensitive communication is vital to avoid exploitation or misunderstanding. Use simple language forms. Allow time for questions and check understanding, not just a signature. For minors, take the adolescent's assent and the required parental or guardian consent with privacy and safety in mind. Make clear that refusal will not affect any care or benefits and provide a contact for questions or complaints. Record consent carefully and protect confidentiality so participation is truly voluntary and respectful. Several barriers hinder informed consent. Low literacy makes it difficult for patients to understand medical information. Gender inequality may mean women are not allowed to decide independently. Cultural norms may dictate that husbands, fathers, or elders make decisions undermining autonomy. Providers must recognize and address these barriers with sensitivity. Use plain language, pictures, and the teach back method to check understanding and provide interpreters when needed. Create private spaces for counseling and make it clear that the patient's choice stands, while offering to include a trusted person only if the woman wants. Document discussions carefully, watch for coercion, and have a clear safeguarding pathway so autonomy is protected even in restrictive settings. Strategies include using visual aids, storytelling, and simple language to explain procedures. Communications must be adapted to cultural contexts, avoiding technical jargon. Empowering women and adolescents to ask questions and assert their rights strengthens informed consent. Providers must create safe spaces where individuals feel confident to make their own choices. Use the teach back method. Ask the person to explain in their own words what they were told to check real understanding. Have the consent conversation in private and include a trusted companion only if the person wants. Make it clear that saying yes or no will not affect future care or benefits and document the discussion. And give a simple handout or phone number for follow up questions. Confidentiality is the duty of healthcare providers to keep patient information private. It is a cornerstone of trust in the provider client relationships. Patients must feel safe to discuss sensitive information without fear of judgment, stigma, or exposure. Confidentiality is not only an ethical duty but often legal obligation in healthcare. Confidentiality in RCH is particularly important because services involve sensitive issues such as contraception, abortion, and HIV. Adolescents, in particular, may avoid services if confidentiality is not assured. Breaches of privacy can result in stigma, discrimination, and violence. Protecting confidentiality, therefore, has life saving implications in RCH. Confidentiality is not absolute. Providers may face situations where maintaining privacy could harm others. For instance, an HIV positive person refusing to disclose their status to their partners raises ethical dilemmas. Mandatory reporting laws require disclosure of child abuse or violence. Providers must balance confidentiality with duties to protect vulnerable individuals or communities. Confidentiality is critical for adolescents seeking reproductive health services. If they fear disclosure to parents, they might avoid care, increasing risks. Providers must balance adolescent privacy with parental rights, always considering the adolescent's best interests. Confidentiality builds trust. encouraging young people to seek timely and appropriate health services. Begin the visit by clearly explaining confidentiality and its limits. For example, safety risks or mandatory reporting. Provide a private, youth friendly space and environment and use simple language so the adolescent feels safe and understood. Encourage involving a trusted adult only if it is safe and the adolescent agrees. Otherwise, respect their decision within local laws. Document the discussion carefully, offer follow up appointments or helplines, and have clear referral pathways for counseling, protection, or urgent care. Digital health systems present new challenges to confidentiality. Protecting electronic health records is critical as data breaches and exposure sensitive reproductive or HIV information could leak out. Providers and health systems must invest in strong data protection protocols and ensure secure storage. Special care is needed because breaches in RCH data can have devastating personal consequences. Informed consent and confidentiality are deeply connected, both rooted in autonomy and respect. They often intersect in RCH dilemmas, such as when an adolescent requests contraception confidentially. Providers must balance ensuring informed choice with protecting privacy, applying ethical judgment that prioritizes the patient's best interests. In practice, explain options, risks, and rights in simple language, then check understanding with quick teachback. Hold the conversation in private, state the limits of confidentiality upfront, and involve a trusted adult only if the adolescent wants and it is safe. Document the discussion carefully, offer clear follow up, appointments, helplines, etc. This approach protects dignity while supporting safe, informed decisions. Frameworks guide decision making. The four principles approach autonomy, beneficence, non beneficence, and justice applies directly to consent and confidentiality. A right based framework emphasizes reproductive rights as human rights. Contextual ethics considers cultural and social influences. Using these frameworks ensures providers address dilemmas systematically and fairly. At the bedside, write down the dilemma and check it against principle and right, noting who could be disadvantaged. Ask how gender norms, power, and poverty shape the choice. Then choose the least restrictive, most beneficial option. Document reasons in simple language and when needed. Ask an ethics consult and involve community voices to keep decisions transparent and fair. An adolescent requests contraception without parental involvement. Should the providers respect his or her autonomy and confidentiality or involve parents? Ethical resolution requires prioritizing the adolescent's health and safety, providing counseling and ensuring informed choice while respecting privacy. Such case highlights the complexity of balancing principles in practice. Begin with private youth friendly counseling in simple language and clearly explain confidentiality and its limits. Use the teach back method to check understanding of options, benefits, and risks and ensure that the choice is voluntary. Encourage involvement of a trusted adult only if the adolescent wants. It is safe and otherwise respect their decision with local laws. Clear a safety plan, offer STI protection, and follow up visits and provide helplines for questions. Document the discussion carefully and consult an ethics or child protection team if any red flags appear. Now consider an HIV positive woman who refuses to disclose her status to her partner. Providers face an ethical conflict. Maintaining confidentiality versus protecting another individual from harm. Ethical balancing requires counseling, persuasion, and exploring disclosure support, but also understanding legal frameworks. This case shows the complexity of confidentiality dilemmas. Start with private, non judgmental counseling and check for any risk of violence if disclosure occurs. Offer assisted disclosure or anonymous partner notification services and discuss prevention options like consistent condom use and referral of the partner for HIV testing or pre exposure prophylaxis where available. Explain the local legal rules carefully and clearly. If the law requires disclosure to prevent serious harm, share only the minimum necessary information and document why. Always prioritize her safety and autonomy. Make a safety plan and link her to support services if there is danger. Seek advice from an ethics committee or senior clinician for difficult cases and continue to provide respectful, confidential care and treatment. Consent and confidentiality are governed not only by ethics but also by law. National Health Acts and reproductive rights law sets standards. International frameworks such as Declaration of Helsinki and WHO guidelines provide global benchmarks. Providers must also comply with mandatory reporting obligations such as in cases of abuse or violence. Providers play multiple roles. They must act as educators, ensuring patients understand their choices. They are guardians of confidentiality, protecting sensitive information from misuse. They are also advocates defending patients' rights in healthcare systems where gender, class, or age may limit autonomy. Providers carry great responsibility in upholding these principles. In practice, they should use simple language, visual aids, and the teach back method so patients truly understand options and risks. They must keep conversations private, record only necessary details, and store data securely to protect confidentiality. As advocates, they challenge barriers such as disrespect, fees, or bias and help patients access services, referrals, and legal protections. Providers should document decisions clearly, seek ethical supports for hard cases, and involve community resources when safe. Ongoing training and communication, gender sensitivity, and right based care helps them uphold autonomy, dignity, and justice in every encounter. Institutions have a responsibility to support the providers. They must establish a clear policies and protocols for consent and confidentiality, provide training for staff and monitor compliance. Providers carry great responsibility in upholding these principles. Hospitals should ensure private counseling spaces, simple consent templates in local languages, and secure record keeping with role based access. Regular audits, refresher trainings, and an active ethics committee give staff guidance for difficult cases. Clear grievance and whistleblower channels protect patients' rights and back providers when they act ethically under pressure. Communities must be engaged. Educating communities about the health rights reduces stigma around reproductive choices. Awareness campaigns help families and individuals support informed decision making. When communities understand and respect consent and confidentiality, ethical service delivery becomes easier and more effective. Global guidelines from WHO emphasize informed consent as a non negotiable standard and confidentiality as a cornerstone of care. International examples show similar challenges across diverse contexts, from adolescent rights in Africa to reproductive choices in South Asia. Despite cultural variations, the ethical foundations remain consistent worldwide. Emerging issues create newer challenges. Genetic testing raises concern about consent dilemmas about disclosure to families. Artificial intelligence in healthcare requires strong safeguards for privacy. Cross border data sharing in global research raises confidentiality concerns. These developments demand updated frameworks to protect patients in the digital era. Use clear, simple consent forms that explain what will be tested, who may learn the results, and how family members might be affected. Offer counseling before and after testing. For AI tools, minimize data collected. De identify records and explain in plain language how the tools work, its limits, and who is responsible for decisions. Requires strong security and regular audits to detect bias and errors, with an easy opt out for patients. For international data sharing, use data use agreements that set strict rules on access, storage, reuse, and re identification, and follow the most protective law that applies. Consider dynamic consent so participants can update permissions over time, keeping control of their data while research advances. Strengthening of ethical capacity means training providers in consent processes, ensuring confidentiality protocols are applied consistently, and cultivating a culture of ethics in institutions. Beyond technical training, providers must internalize respect for autonomy and privacy as professional values that guide daily practice. Add practical steps, run regular hands on trainings with role plays, use simple consent checklists, and teach back to confirm understanding. And keep private spaces for counseling. Set up clear data security rules, de identify records, restrict access, and audit logs so confidentiality is not broken. Create a supportive culture with quick ethics consult, non punitive feedback, and recognition for staff who model respectful care. Track compliance with short audits and fix gaps fast so ethical practice becomes routine, not exceptional. Advocacy is necessary to protect informed consent and confidentiality at systemic levels. Reforms may include adolescent rights to reproductive services, stronger reproductive rights protections, and patient centered policies. Advocacy ensures that ethical principles are not just provider duties but systemic guarantees. To summarize, informed consent and confidentiality are twin pillars of ethical service provision. They protect autonomy, dignity, and trust. In RCH, these principles face unique challenges due to vulnerable populations, cultural barriers, and sensitive topics. Providers, institutions, and communities all share responsibility in upholding them. In conclusion, informed consent and confidentiality are more than checklists or signatures. They are moral imperatives that uphold human dignity and fairness. In reproductive and child health, their consistent application transforms healthcare into a space of respect and empowerment rather than coercion or stigma. As a closing reflection, remember that respect for privacy and choice builds trust, the most valuable currency in healthcare. Without trust, even the best medical interventions may fail. Consent and confidentiality, therefore, are not side issues but central pillars of effective and ethical healthcare. Thank you for your attention. We have explored how informed consent and confidentiality safeguards autonomy, trust, and dignity in reproductive and child health services. These principles may seem straightforward but become complex in real world practice, requiring constant vigilance, sensitivity, and advocacy. They remain at the heart of ethical and respectful healthcare. This lecture concludes our discussion on these two key ethical principles. In the next lecture, we will broaden our perspective and discuss advocacy for reproductive and child health rights. Advocacy ensures that ethical principles are embedded in policies and systems protecting rights at scale. Thank you for listening so attentively to today's session. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.